As ugly as this season was, you got to admit, there were quite a few silver linings. Marquese Chriss might end up being the greatest of them all. After making the team in training camp when there was really no spot for him, to being waived and brought back, it kind of feels like it's his destiny to be a Warrior. Moving forward with Marquese, I think there are two big questions. Can he stretch the floor, and can he start at the center position? I want to look at the offensive side of things first, and mostly his shooting. He shot 35% his 1 year at Washington at almost 2 a game. His rookie year in Phoenix, 32% at almost 3 a game. And then 29%, 26%, and last season 20%. As his percentage dropped, his attempts dropped. We know confidence plays a big role in all shooting, but with some players more than others. When you look at him as a shooter, there's not a whole lot that sticks out. Nothing that would make you feel like he can't shoot, other than his sinking percentage. I suspect confidence is the biggest culprit. But when you lose confidence, your body starts to follow suit and mechanics start to break down. In other words, your body and mind are not on the same page. Most of his threes last year were in pick and pop or dribble handoff situations, which innately can lead to some indecision, whether you're going to drive it or pop it or fade. Now, you combine that with the fact that the Warriors were playing in shrunken space all year with their backcourt. A lot of the screens were set inside the three-point line or just about on it. As teams packed it in and dared us to shoot, I think Chriss also understood he didn't want to take long twos, so he found himself drifting back to the line and actually looking down at it way too much. The second thing I noticed was his balance. His biggest mechanical issue is leaning forward and having his weight out in front of him rather than under him. Now, because he's such a lob threat, I think his natural tendency is to roll or get downhill. His body is almost hardwired to head that way. It's almost like stop rolling a stop sign. Instead of coming to a complete stop, you pause and then let the vehicle's momentum roll you through. And you see Chriss doing that, and it works very well, again, headed downhill. But when it's time to pop or fade, I think that momentum works against him, particularly in his jump shot. But with Stephen Clay back, naturally, I think the screen should be set higher, and that should help with him checking down and having to step back into threes, which is just very unnatural, especially for a big man. But if he can focus on his balance, keeping his weight under him, shooting them perhaps as a trailer or spreading to the corner, he should be taking them and he should be making them. I think it would be a mistake to write him off as far as a big who can't shoot threes. It's all very fixable, and especially at 23 years old. As far as the rest of his game offensively, he's obviously a great vertical spacer, and that's without the Splash Brothers' gravity. Passing-wise, I don't think he really showed much, especially in the short roll, aka the Draymond pass. But I mean, look, when you got bunnies like he does, you tend to get tunnel vision when you're headed towards the hoop. Pretty much all of his assists came off dribble handoffs, but expect him to be able to keep and attack a lot more when the receivers of those handoffs are once again the Splash Brothers. I mean, let's be real here. His defender was never going to be concerned with Kai or Lee coming off those. All right, let's talk about defense. And probably the main reason the Warriors see him as part of their future. We could simplify things and just say he protects the rim and he rebounds. But you know that's not my style. As a big, I think the first question is, how do you look in pick and roll coverage? This is where Chriss made the most progress this season. When it comes to recovering at the rim or riding the driver's body while staying vertical, dare I say, he's become an elite. Where he needs improvement is when he has to show hard or stay out on the perimeter and contest a pull-up shooter. Perhaps because it's not his length, but it's his bounce and strength that are his best assets. Overall, look, I'm very encouraged by his progress, and I think he will continue to get better with the cat and mouse game that is pick and roll basketball. I go back to the second question though. Can he start at center? I think the answer lies within him answering the question, can he guard true centers? The Joker, Embiid, Valanciunas, Cat. Is he just too small to handle these guys? I don't think it's a strength issue. Marquese is strong, he plays strong, and he likes physicality. Where he's lacking is length. A measurement that doesn't get much hype is standing reach. And where it comes into play most is in the post. Blake Griffin is a great example. Super strong and explosive, but got owned in the post because of his lack of length. Guys could just shoot right over his standing reach. Chriss has a 7-foot wingspan, but only an 8'9" standing reach, where the league's average at the center position is 9'3". Basically, he's got to jump to challenge in situations where you should stay down. And he's pretty good at it, but it can be exploited and it can lead to foul trouble. Ultimately, as a contender, the Warriors, they're gonna need a true 7-footer for these specific matchups in a playoff series. Not on a given night in January, but a playoff series, you're gonna need some more size. Now, that doesn't have to be a star. It doesn't mean Chriss can't start at the center and play the bulk of the minutes. It could be a Plumlee or a Robin Lopez type role player. I think offensively, Marquese really does benefit from playing the 5, and he rebounds well enough to do it. He is better on the offensive glass where he can use that bounce, and defensively, he gets pulled away and out of position naturally by trying to block everything in his radius, right? But at just 23 and all that progress without the Splash Brothers on the court, I know I keep hammering that point home, but it can't be stressed enough. I think he has everybody intrigued, and rightfully so. Now, does this change the Warriors' draft strategy? Chriss is locked up next year super cheap. But if he takes another big step this year, he could be due for quite the bag, a bag that I'm not sure the Warriors will have, whereas whoever they take in this draft will be locked in for the foreseeable future. This was an exclusive Patreon video that I had made over the quarantine. If you want more content like that, please check out my Patreon and consider becoming a member, because that's how I'm making it, y'all. If you like my YouTube videos, you want me to keep going, you like my content, this is how I'm able to maintain, so give it a shot. Now, no one wants a BAP, but in sports, I do believe in BAP. Fellas, I'm talking about best available player, calm down here. To me, like when you're drafting in the top 5, I don't care what position the dude plays, and what type of overlap it has with the roster. If the player is clearly the best, you take him, no questions asked. The problem is, in this draft, there is no consensus number 1. And there's kind of a consensus top 3, right? The title of this, admittedly, is a bit clickbaity, right? You gotta be a little provocative. I don't think when you're drafting this high, Marquese Chriss is gonna alter the Warriors' decision. But I do think if they were to trade back to, say, 10 or 11, then that might be something that's at play, whether they are looking for another big or a wing. But ultimately, I want to know, what do y'all think? Can Chriss be the full-time starter at the center position? And what's your draft philosophy? BAP, fit, a mix of both? Drop it in the comments. I'm out, y'all.
I've been winning so long, it's like alchemy.